You know, I'm about tired of these dang games up on this Saturn costing so much, man. I'm about to just buy me an import.
Man, you know if you do that, you know how to do one of them import-friendly videos again for, us country boys.
Me and you about to fight.
We just
Welcome to the Saturn Junkyard. I'm the Southern Sega Gentleman, and welcome to the second part of our Import Friendly series. You know, a couple of weeks back, whenever I dropped my very first episode of Import Friendly, I had a number of suggestions from those in the community. It just so happens that about 4 or 5 y'all all suggested the very same game. Treasure's masterpiece of a side-scrolling beat-em-up / RPG, whatever you want to call it, Guardian Heroes. So, without further delay, let's go ahead and get into it and find out just how import-friendly Guardian Heroes really is. First off, let's get the overview out of the way. Guardian Heroes, one of the most iconic games ever developed by Treasure, is a side-scrolling beat-em-up that also imparts RPG elements into its gameplay. A break from the norm, Guardian Heroes was released in North America on January 25th of 1996, one full day before its Japanese release. The game features quite an interesting story mode. In it, the player can choose amongst a myriad of paths to follow upon the completion of a stage. These choices direct the player towards one of up to 5 endings. Getting to that ending is the fun part, as you could choose different paths at the start of 2 playthroughs and still reach the same conclusion. Another aspect is the RPG elements the developers threw in. Broken up between 6 distinct tracks are the player's attributes. These affect the player's physical strength, all the way to their movement and attack speed. As you level up in combat, you will obtain skill points that can be used to upgrade these stats, even if you run out of continues, which most certainly will inevitably happen. If you choose to start the playthrough over instead of quitting, you can still use your earned stats from the previous run. Gameplay is summed up simply. Beat the hell out of every enemy on the screen, whether that be by sword and fist or by fire, ice, lightning. Yeah, I think you get it. What really breaks this game from the mold, minus the RPG stuff, is the usage of fighter-style combinations and the multi-tiered planes. Every level consists of 3 tracks of sorts, an upper, mid, and lower. You can use these tracks as a way to evade enemy attacks, get out of tight spots, or hell, just dance around the screen, I suppose. Point is, it allows for multiple playstyles, from simple spam button players to those more inclined to be a little more tactical. Story mode offers you and a second player if you choose to take a friend, 4 playable characters at the start, but upon your first successful playthrough, you'll unlock a 5th player to choose at the onset of your next run. On top of this simple reward, multiple playthroughs will continue to unlock a total of up to 44 players for the built-in versus mode. In this arena mode, up to 6 different characters can battle it out, till the time runs out or to the death. So with that out of the way, let's get to the question of the hour. Is the game import friendly? Well, first off, let's set some ground rules. No guide, walkthrough, or internet source was used. This was me going in blind. A disclaimer of sorts I have to mention is that I do own the North American release, but waited until I'd completed my first run through of the Japanese version before I recorded any footage from my US copy. It's also been about 2 months since I had even played the English version. Well, if you didn't notice, I didn't talk much about the story while I was doing my overview. Why? Because the only way to tell what's going on minus using a guide or walkthrough would be to read Japanese. For basically being a 2D brawler, this game has a ton of text. Everything from the options, path selection, to of course character dialogue is presented in Japanese. Hell, even the stats menu's in Japanese. The only real use of English is the main menu. While that wouldn't really be a problem if this was, say, a fighter, it really does hurt the game in this case. Without some knowledge of where I was going, or what was being asked of me, I found myself losing interest regularly. The completion of this video and my love for beat-em-ups being my only motivator at times. What about the combat, you say? Thankfully, that's a no-brainer. Pick up the pad and start whooping ass. Besides maybe figuring out a few move combinations, this game is about as straightforward as it gets. 2 buttons for melee combat, a block, magic usage, and the shoulder buttons for moving between planes. That's really all you need to know. so no need to brush up on your Japanese there. The only real issue that may plague you is blindly adding experience points to stats you don't understand. Of course, you could always distribute them evenly, but that really detracts from the multiple playstyles and character types at your disposal. At its core, Guardian Heroes distinguishes itself from other brawlers based on its very playstyle and RPG elements. Not being able to actively utilize those mechanics really knocks the game's fun factor and replay value down a few marks. Not to beat a dead horse, but when it comes to progressing between stages, the heavy usage of Japanese really does hamper you. You don't have any idea where you're going. In my case, I was literally just picking the middle path or option every time. One stage would be stage 10, the next would be stage 15, and that's all I knew. So if you were to go in blind, like I did, you would have to utilize a pen and paper or at the very least your camera's phone to memorize what paths you had taken the last go around. Otherwise, you'll probably end up in the same spot over and over. I mean, if you like blindly progressing through a game, it isn't that bad. But if you want to be actively engaged, it's going to be a major hurdle for you to jump. By going in blind like I did, you would miss out entirely on this amazing story. One of rebels grasped by their convictions, a tyrannical regime controlled by a powerful sorcerer, a battle of ethereal beings. There's even an ancient hero who rises from his grave to battle alongside you. There are numerous moral choices that have to be made as well, and the only way to know about them would be to have a guide on hand or by reading the language. It isn't impossible by any means, but it will take extra effort if you really want to appreciate this game. So what's the final verdict going to be? Well, based on some feedback from the last video, I have to really look at this in two different aspects. If all you're here for is a beat 'em up, hack and slash, Streets of Rage, Final Fight clone, whatever you want to call it, then this is 100% import friendly. $45 well spent, no questions asked. However, if you have to be able to be immersed in the story, if you have to know what's going on with the stats menu, which area you're going to, the moral choices you're making, whatever the case it might be, then you're going to have to utilize a walkthrough, some kind of guide, something. Now, if you fall in that second category and you're not okay with utilizing a guide, it takes you out of the game, whatever the case might be, then this is not an import-friendly title for you. There's no way around it. So, if you do fall in that second category, then I would highly suggest, if you have access to an Xbox console, utilizing the Xbox Live Arcade and getting the HD remaster, rework, whatever the case of it is, for Guardian Heroes. Not only are you getting a good game in English, but you're also supporting the publisher, developer, to some extent possibly allowing us to have future games ported natively, in some extent or another, to these modern consoles. So, besides that option, if you don't have access to an Xbox console, then you already know what the answer is. If you're not willing to spend $100, $150 or possibly $60, $70 if you get a really good deal, you're going to have to utilize a backup or a repro or emulate the game, whatever the case is for you. It's really your only option. But honestly, it's a pretty interesting game. I absolutely love the hell out of it. And if nothing else, just for the experience itself, it's worth $45 in my opinion. So, for all of us here at the Saturn Junkyard, this has been the Southern Sega Gentleman. This is me, signing off. Oh, sorry, I was just reading up on some mains TT. Look, over here we got some videos. Apparently there's something, I don't know what they really are, it doesn't matter. On top of that, we got this thing called a subscribe button. If you like what we did, go ahead and hit that subscribe button. And if you really like us, go ahead and hit that bell icon. That way you stay up to date every single time we drop a new video. We'll see you around.